You've been told to reach for a tablet when your body aches. But 3,000 years ago along the Nile, Egyptian priests didn't have pills. They had something else that healed better. When the body was exhausted and muscles began to tremble, they turned to pure sesame paste. No modern labs, no scientific names, just a food they had learned to trust. And today, researchers studying magnesium and muscle function are realizing those priests were right all along. But sesame paste is only the beginning. There are 10 ancient snacks on this list that were valued long before anyone understood the nutrients inside them. Number 6 may already be sitting in your kitchen, disguised as an ordinary evening habit. And the final snack? It kept a starving traveler alive for 11 days on almost nothing else. Let's begin. Number 10. Almonds, the nut worthy of a king. In the tombs of the Egyptian pharaohs, alongside gold and grain, archaeologists found almonds. Provisions placed there deliberately, meant to travel with royalty into the next life. In ancient Persia, almonds were reserved for feasts of state, offered to guests as a mark of respect. A food doesn't earn a place in a royal tomb by accident. Modern science has caught up to what those hands already knew. Almonds are loaded with magnesium, a mineral involved in hundreds of processes in the body. It calms an overactive nervous system, supports steady blood sugar, and helps bones stay strong over time. Research links regular almond consumption to lower inflammation and better heart health markers. A single handful, roughly 20 almonds, delivers close to a fifth of your daily magnesium needs. The Persians didn't know the number. They just noticed the effect, soaking them overnight and eating them at dawn, believed to sharpen the mind before long journeys. They weren't guessing. They were paying attention. That alone would be impressive. But the next item was considered sacred enough to be buried with entire civilizations. Number 9. Pumpkin seeds, the seed the Aztecs called sacred. Long before supermarkets sold them by the bag, pumpkin seeds, known as pepitas, were roasted over open fires in Mesoamerica. Aztec healers ground them into paste for fatigue. The Maya considered them a food for warriors, eaten before exertion, not after. This wasn't superstition dressed up as medicine. Pumpkin seeds hold one of the highest magnesium concentrations of any snack on Earth. Researchers now understand why healers reach for them so often. Magnesium plays a direct role in muscle relaxation and helps the body wind down, supporting deeper, more restorative sleep. Studies on magnesium-rich diets show measurable sleep improvements among adults with low intake. Here's the twist. Pumpkin seeds also carry zinc, meaning the Aztecs were unknowingly stacking 2 protective minerals in a single seed, toasted with salt and chili, eaten straight from the palm. No laboratory told them this worked. Repetition did. Wait until you hear what an entire civilization considered too valuable to drink casually. Number 8. Dark chocolate, the drink reserved for gods. The Maya and Aztec elite did not drink chocolate the way we do now. It was bitter, unsweetened, reserved for priests and rulers during sacred ceremonies. Cacao beans were so valuable they were used as currency. You had to earn the right to taste it. This wasn't about status alone. Cacao carries one of the richest natural sources of magnesium found in any plant. Researchers studying dark chocolate with high cacao content have found it supports healthy blood vessel function and may modestly lower blood pressure. Its magnesium also plays a role in mood regulation, which may explain why cacao ceremonies were tied to emotional and spiritual states. Here's what most people don't expect. The more processed and sweetened chocolate becomes, the less magnesium survives, meaning the candy bar in your pantry shares almost nothing with what ancient priests once drank, ground raw with water, chili, and spices, sipped slowly. They treated it like medicine. We treat it like dessert. Now the story turns toward a leafy green with a name borrowed from an empire. Number 7. Spinach, the green that traveled an empire. Spinach carries the name of the land that first cultivated it. Ancient Persia grew it centuries before it reached Mediterranean tables, valued as food that restored strength to the weak and recovering. They weren't eating it simply for flavor. Spinach is one of the most magnesium-dense leafy greens known. Modern science explains what Persian healers observed by instinct. Magnesium supports nerve signaling and regulates the tightening and releasing of muscles, including the heart. Research on magnesium-rich vegetable intake links it to lower rates of cramping and fatigue. Here's the detail almost no one knows. Spinach's iron is poorly absorbed unless paired with vitamin C, meaning cooks who served it with citrus or vinegar were maximizing its benefits centuries before anyone understood absorption. It was wilted lightly, never boiled into mush. They cooked with instinct. We cook with convenience. The next item traveled even farther, carried by hands that left no written records at all. Number 6. Cashews, the nut no empire could claim. Cashews come from Brazil, where indigenous Tupi communities harvested them long before European ships arrived. No written record, no royal decree. Just generations who noticed something worth passing down. No one called it science. They simply knew it worked. Cashews pair magnesium with healthy fats, a combination modern research links to improve cholesterol balance and steadier energy than sugary snacks. Trials on nut consumption connect regular intake with better heart health markers. Here's what might surprise you. Cashews contain less fat than most tree nuts, which may explain why they became a staple rather than an occasional treat. They were roasted over open flame, since the raw shell holds an irritant heat neutralizes, learned through trial and error. That knowledge costs something to earn. It shouldn't be forgotten this easily. The next food fed entire civilizations for thousands of years, and most people barely think about it today. Number 5. Black beans, the bean that built civilizations. In Mesoamerica, black beans were not a side dish. They were survival, paired with corn as the backbone of Aztec and Maya diets. Independently, ancient Chinese agriculture cultivated legumes as a primary food source thousands of years before these civilizations ever connected. This wasn't coincidence. Two unconnected civilizations arrived at the same answer, because black beans deliver a dense, steady source of magnesium alongside fiber and plant protein. Legumes are now understood as one of the most complete plant-based magnesium sources available, supporting digestion and sustained energy without the crash of processed carbs. Population studies link regular legume intake to lower rates of metabolic disease. Here's the part almost no one connects. Black beans were soaked overnight before cooking, a step that reduces compounds blocking mineral absorption, unknowingly improving the very nutrient they depended on. Two civilizations, oceans apart, arrived at the same method. That is not superstition. That is convergent observation. The next item was pressed into a paste that ancient physicians once trusted as medicine. Number 4. Sesame seeds, the paste ancient physicians trusted. In ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, sesame was not just food. Egyptian physicians recorded it among remedies for fatigue and weakness. Mesopotamian traders pressed it into oil valuable enough for religious offerings. This wasn't symbolism. Sesame seeds are exceptionally dense in magnesium, especially ground in a paste, known today as tahini. Modern research confirms what those physicians documented by observation. Magnesium supports muscle recovery and helps maintain steady heart rhythm. Studies on sesame-derived compounds also show benefits for cholesterol balance. Here's the detail worth remembering. Whole sesame seeds pass through the body largely undigested unless ground, wasting much of their value, something ancient cultures solved by grinding them into paste long before anyone understood digestion. It was spread on bread and given to the recovering. They didn't have laboratories. They had generations of careful watching. The next fruit traveled farther than almost anything else on this list. Number 3. Bananas, the fruit that crossed oceans. Long before bananas reached Western markets, they were cultivated across Southeast Asia and New Guinea for thousands of years, carried across oceans as portable, reliable nourishment when fresh food was scarce. They weren't chosen for convenience alone. Bananas carry magnesium alongside potassium, a pairing the body relies on for muscle and nerve coordination. Researchers recognize this combination as essential for preventing cramps during exertion and maintaining electrolyte balance after sweating. Studies linked the pairing to better blood pressure regulation. Here's what most people never consider. A slightly underripe banana holds more resistant starch, slowing digestion for longer-lasting energy, meaning ancient travelers eating them underripe may have fueled longer journeys without knowing why. They required almost no preparation at all. Nature rarely makes something this convenient by accident. The next food built an entire nation's diet for over 5,000 years, and it might already be in your kitchen tonight. Number 2. Soybeans, the bean that fed a civilization for 5,000 years. In ancient China, soybeans were among the earliest domesticated crops, feeding dynasties long before written history took shape. Fermented, boiled, pressed in a curd, they were never treated as ordinary. This wasn't habit, it was necessity. Soybeans, eaten young as edamame, deliver one of the most complete plant sources of magnesium and protein together. Edamame is a rare plant food containing all essential amino acids alongside high magnesium, supporting muscle repair and steady energy. Research on soy-based diets links regular consumption to improve cholesterol profiles. Here's the surprising fact most people miss. Edamame is simply soybeans harvested young, before hardening, making it nutritionally denser in some respects than the mature beans used for tofu. It was steamed in the pod, lightly salted, eaten straight from the shell. 5,000 years of continuous cultivation does not happen by chance. And now, the final item, the one this entire story has been building toward. Number 1. Figs, the fruit that kept a man alive. At the ancient Olympic Games in Greece, athletes trained on diets built around dried figs, believed to build endurance before competition. The Bible references figs repeatedly, tied to nourishment and survival during scarcity. Historical accounts describe travelers surviving extended periods in barren terrain on dried figs alone, when almost nothing else was available. This wasn't chosen for sweetness. Dried figs are remarkably dense in magnesium, calcium, and natural sugars, compressed into something portable that barely spoils. Researchers now confirm what those athletes understood instinctively. Magnesium supports sustained muscular endurance, while natural sugars provide fast energy without the sugar crash. Studies link dried fruit to improved bone density, driven by unusually high calcium content. Here's the detail that makes this fruit remarkable. Drying figs does not destroy their magnesium the way it destroys other nutrients, meaning a handful concentrates nearly the mineral density of several fresh servings, carried for weeks without refrigeration. That is not a coincidence of nature. That is why it survived thousands of years of human dependence. They weren't ahead of science. Science simply hadn't caught up yet. 10 foods, 10 civilizations, none connected by trade routes, language, or shared history. Yet every one of them arrived at the same mineral, valued it, and built it into daily survival without ever knowing its name. That's not a coincidence. That's what happens when patient observation gets repeated across enough generations. It eventually arrives at the same truth a laboratory takes centuries to confirm. But here's the uncomfortable part. Somewhere between then and now, that patience got traded for convenience. And most people today are more magnesium deficient than any of these civilizations ever were, surrounded by more food than they've ever had access to. So don't try to eat all 10. That's not how they discovered it, and it's not how you will either. Pick one, just one, add it to your week the same way they did, consistently, without expecting anything overnight. Then pay attention to how you feel a few weeks from now. If this list surprised you, the next one will hit harder. The ancient sleep remedy that modern medicine just started taking seriously is coming next, and you won't want to miss why. Hit subscribe so it doesn't slip past you. And if this changed how you look at your kitchen, tap like, it tells me to keep digging these up.